Okay, so this is a demonstration for the working drawing, and this has got to be super duper neat. It's worth 50 points, and I don't think twice lopping off 10 points and turning a 50, which is 100%, into a 40, which is 80%. It'll happen just like that. Okay, it's got to look nice. So that means you're bringing to bear all the things that we learned about and talked about and practiced in the in sketching. Okay, so we've the first thing I want you to do is to give me a nice border all the way around. You know, 1 or 2 squares in will be fine. And then we need a little title box, maybe 3 or 4 squares high, maybe 3 high. Car number 23, drawn by Mr. E. In the real world, you'd never use lowercase letters like I am right here. You'd use all uppercase, but okay, and that's the title, little title box. And now that I know how much I'm putting in there, I'll just close it up. You can put it on the lower left corner, you can put it on the lower right corner. You shouldn't need to have the whole thing. Now, we're using our blank. What happened to my blank? And remember, the instruction was to not set this on here and outline it, but we're going to use this to establish how big this is. A lot of folks make the mistake of putting this down here too low, but remember there's dimensions that got to go below here. So we need to have some room beneath it. So I'm going to have like 4 or 5 squares underneath it, and I'm going to put a little mark right here. That's the lower corner. And I'm going to follow this up, and these marks are going to go on the grid. Maybe up to there, maybe a little higher. And I'm going to go over to about here, and I'm just making points, and I'm using this blank as a reference to, so I know how long to make this stuff and how high to go. It's about 3 squares high. You need to go really lightly because you're going to eventually, don't darken this in because this is going to have to come out. So do not darken in your outline. You can come close on the hypotenuse. Next I want to mark in, and if you can see, I've got to mark out this hole. It's 8 squares deep. The top of it's about here. The bottom will be about there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to count it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's our, you can't cut through that. That's the power plant. Okay, and then the top. And what I like to do on the top view is, okay, common mistake. A lot of folks then don't have this projecting. You got to have that lined up. What I like to do on the top view is have one of the grid lines be on the middle to act as a center line, so you only to be like a mirror line, so you don't have to draw the whole thing. You can just draw half. So maybe I'll pick a line that's going to be the center and center the blank, and so now it's a little bit bigger than 3 here and 3 there. And I'm going to eyeball this to see how big that is, maybe about there to there. I'm going real fast because that's why I'm ending up being sloppy here. You guys need to look a lot neater on this one. So that's the start. questions so far? Now remember, I didn't lay the block down and do an outline. You're going to end up too big. I used the block just to tell me how far it was, but I'm on the grid. I'm predominantly on the grid for this. Okay? You might go a little higher here. I'm a little bit wide, so if I have the center line, it's 1, 2, 3 plus a quarter of a block, 1, 2, 3 plus a quarter of a block or a third of a block, and that's how wide it is. But I've got this center line here that's right on the grid. Okay, and now I can draw my car in. And it's got to be nice, neat line work and dark. And I want you to leave me at least a little bit of like a quarter of an inch of material between where you're cutting and that power plant. Important note: do not color this. Do not draw your sponsor on this. Do not write your number on this except in the title box. This is just like an outline of it. This is the engineering part of it. Okay? We don't want to know what the color is at this point. We want to know where we're cutting. And this is an important part of doing this because I need to know that you know what you're doing and what your vision is. If you can't draw this, you can't communicate to me what your car is going to look like, then that tells me that you don't have a really good idea of what you're going to do. If you don't have a really good idea what you're going to do, am I going to give you $2 worth of wood to try to cut on the bandsaw? No. Why would I want to give you money to spend on the bandsaw if you don't know what you're doing yet? So that's why this is important. Axles need to be 1 square up. We didn't talk about that yet, but your axles need to be 1 square up from the bottom. And I follow that line up and put a dotted line across the top, because this is where I'm at there for the axles on the top view. And I always get the question, Mr. Aldred, what does this look like from the top view? It's whatever you look like. I've got a kind of a curvy motif, and so that's what I'm going to do on the top. Thin in the middle, and I'm going to come wide again in the front, so we have our minimum width in the wheels in the front. I want to come to a point right there, so I'm going to curve in. Okay, and that's a start. Okay, significant features or things that I want to see. Sometimes things that people do wrong. Sometimes we get a border that's sloppy. Guys, try to be as quiet as you can, please. We've got a border. A couple blocks in, we got a nice title box down here with our name on it and a car number. Number one thing I see people doing wrong, we laid our block down and just outlined it. Don't do that. Have the block handy, but just so you know where to establish it on the grid. And this one I established on the lower right corner here, and I worked my way up and across, and I know how far to go because I had the block. And then this one, it turns out, is and I usually would just make the front 3/4 of an inch and then draw the hypotenuse in. And notice I drew all the box in really lightly because now I'm taking it out. Other mistakes we have, people don't line these things up. They don't even start off with the box lined up. Well, who doesn't start off with the box, these things, the top view and the side view lined up? Line that stuff up. I just caught someone over here at table 6. They had their block pointed the other way, but the top view pointed this way. Have them both point the same way. Unfortunately, the fix was easy, but okay. I am more or less showing you how to do this. It's right up here. You're just doing a different design, But why I get really wild variations on what people think looks good and was correct and not, I don't know why that happens, but it does. Because we know about projection, we know we like to have stuff lined up. And all I have here left is my car. Remember, your axle line your axle's got to be one square up from the bottom of the blank somewhere on that line coming across here. Anywhere is good. And remember, the back side's got to be under the power plant. I catch this a lot. We make a little X right here. This is the center point of where we're drilling. That's why there's an X right there. And I also see people like to make an X up on the side. No, if you look at a drilled point from the top, it's a dotted line. Technically, this thing we've got drilled into the side should be made out of dotted lines. I don't get into that so much, but definitely can't have just an X right here. Go ahead and give me a dotted line coming across showing me where the car is going to be, where the axle is going to be. And we're only drawing half of it. If you want to draw the whole thing, do take your time, make it look as nice as you can. I will accept a half of the profile. Excuse me, half of the top view profile. Leave the center line on so we know where it's at. Doesn't that look nice and neat now? How's the contrast? You guys see that okay? Okay, I need a ruler. I think I have one up here. There were specifications we got. One of the specifications was for overall length, and so I have to prove my car fits the overall specifications for overall length, and to prove something like that, I'm going to dimension the length of it. Put in extension lines. Remember, extension lines don't touch the actual drawing. And I'm showing this to be 7 1/4 inches. So I'm going to really neatly here, 7 1/4 inch. And you got a ruler in your hand, so you might as well use it to draw the leader line. Now notice that I drew this kind of low. I got some space here to put other dimensions and nest them inside there, and that way we're not crossing extension lines against something else leader lines. We don't like to cross dimensions if we can help it, so please try to remember that. Now I'm going to put a little extension line right here. This is 1 2 3 4, it's 1 1/4 inch. And hooks. I'm just going to mark where my hooks are going to go. Remember, hooks can't go in parts that you're cutting up like this. If I put a hook in here, that means that the fishing line is going to come in this hook and go up into this hook here and then down and rub on the bottom of the car. And we've had cars not finish the race because the fishing line was grinding on the bottom of the car. So remember, you got to put the hooks as low as you can get them. Just not directly under 6 1/2? Yep. Just not directly under the axles. Any questions so far? So there's 3 of the specifications right there. Overall length, how far the back axle is from the back of the car, and the hook gap. I don't have a specification for height, but go ahead and give it to me anyway. I'm going to call that 2 1/2 3/8. Finally, the width of the car. We'll do that up here. And we'll call this 1/4. Ooh. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13/16. 13/16 of an inch. And if the back is different, you got to give it to me, but I think that's the same. It came full width all the way around.